building an indie business in the center of venture capital. I'm Alex Edmonds, also known as SupremeRumHam on the internet, and this is the Building an Indie Business podcast. All right, so this episode is going to be about social media and promoting your podcast on social media. I'm going to go over the goals that you should have for promoting your podcast on social media, how to promote your podcast on social media, the benefits, and the problems that you will run into. Okay, so let's get started. One goal that at least I have with social media is to connect with my audience. So a lot of my audience may be on a social media platform, and by joining that social media platform, I'm able to talk with my audience without having to do anything extra like spin up my own forum or create my own chat room. Okay. Another goal that I have for social media is to get people to click on my stuff, my links, my profile, things like that. Okay. How to get people to help me reach my goals. The first thing that you can do and that I do to get people to click on my stuff is fill out my profiles. So I have a pinned post on all my social media profiles. I fill out my bio, I add my links, I make sure to have a picture, I add my website to the website portion. I fill it out. The next thing I do to promote my podcast is I create snippets of the episodes. So, like for this episode, I could create a snippet of the how section, the benefits section, and the problems. And I can release these episodes every day, or these videos every day, these snippets of videos. So, like Monday, I can do the how section. Tuesday, I can do the benefits section. And Wednesday, I can do the problem section. And you have to be careful with this because each different social media platform only allows you a certain amount of time. So you have to make sure to be within the guidelines and not waste your time. So like for Twitter, I think it's 2 minutes. That one I know for sure. I don't know the other ones. So how do I create these snippets? Great question, sir. The way I create these snippets is I use Overcast.fm, specifically the app on iOS only. Hey Marco, if you're looking to sponsor the open podcast community, reach out to me. We can discuss it. The way I create the snippets is Overcast has a feature where you can take a snippet. You can take a portion of a podcast and create a video of it, which is great. I love it. I hardly ever do this though for the podcast. Another way you can do this, which is platform agnostic, is headliner.app. So the app that I use to turn my audio into video allows me to create snippets. And what's great about Headliner is it will it'll create your video for you based on the social media platform. So you can click Facebook, you can click Twitter, and it'll create different videos with the different lengths of your episode. Okay. Another thing that I do on social media is I summarize each episode. So I basically take all my notes and I put it in one post, and then with a link to the podcast at first. So the first thing I do is I have this week's episode was about the title of the episode with a link to the podcast. Then I comment the different sections of the podcast. So I take my notes and I will highlight, I will copy the different sections. So I will copy the how section and then paste it into a comment right under the link to the podcast. And then I will do the benefits, and then I will do the problems. And that's all I do. Okay. The next thing you can do is create a social media account for the podcast. And this is another thing that I do. And you can post all the stuff that I just mentioned in the account for the podcast, and then retweet it, or not retweet it, but share it. I'm being platform agnostic in this episode, or at least trying to be. Then you share the post from the podcast account with your personal account, and now you have more visibility. And when people see that a post is being shared, they're more likely to share it. So you have the likelihood that more people will share that content. Okay. Another thing you can do is use hashtags, and hashtags improve visibility, and so more people will see it, more people will share it. So for BAIB, the podcast that you're listening to right now, I use podcasting hashtags. I use podcast, hashtag podcasting, and hashtag Podern Family. And those increase the visibility to people that have an interest in podcasting. Okay. Another thing you can do, or the final thing that I do, is I ask people to share my content. So I will say, hey, person from Open Podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you would share this post. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It improves visibility, and then it shows people that this post is being shared, and more people will see it. It's more likely to be shared, and yeah. Okay. The next thing I do is the final thing that I do is I follow people that I think have an interest in my content. So one Twitter account that I follow people from is Overcast.fm, because I would love it if Overcast.fm sponsored the Open Podcast community. Okay, so how exactly do I find people to follow and look at or choose to look at my content? Great question. I'll go over how. So first, you think about the company that you want to sponsor your podcast or community. Then you go to one of their posts, one of their original posts. Then you follow anyone who has interacted with that post. The reason why you want to specifically follow people that have been that have interacted with their last post is because these people have been the most recently active compared to people that follow that account. So you know most likely that those people will see that you're following them, liking their posts. If you go by followers, you might end up following inactive people, and some platforms allow you a limit of people that you can follow in a day. So following inactive people is a waste. Okay. The benefits of social media. There are lots of users, and there are millions of them per platform. I think Facebook has like 2 billion. Twitter has 300 million. So on each platform, there are niches, and within those niches, there are millions of people, and that's the minimum. There'll be millions of people. Like if you go hashtag podcasting, there's going to be 1 million posts. That's 1 million potential people to be a listener of your podcast. Okay, the next benefit of social media is there are many different platforms. So like if you're not good at writing or like promoting your podcast through writing, you can do it through video. You can do it through audio. Yeah, you don't have to stick to one platform. That's what makes social media great. Virality. Okay. The final benefit of whatever I'm talking about, social media, sorry, is that one of your posts can go viral and you would get a lot of clicks, and that's a lot of people potentially listening to your podcast and becoming a subscriber of your podcast. That's great. Okay. Problems. I got a lot of problems with you people, and now you're gonna hear about it. Okay. You people know, or the listeners of this podcast know that I'm not a big fan of social media. So I have a lot to say about the problems with social media. So one problem is that you don't own the content. So if a platform doesn't like what you're saying, they can erase your account and you lose all the content that you've created and all the followers that you've gained. Just like that. This is why I like owning your content. You can check out that episode about owning your content somewhere in the podcast feed. Okay. The next thing I have a problem with social media is algorithms. So many social media platforms will have an algorithm for a person's feed. And what that means is that they optimize a person's feed. So what that means for you as a user and poster, promoter on social media is that when you post something, it doesn't get seen right away by someone who logged in as you've posted your content on social media. And so if your post on social media does not do well with the social media platform's algorithm, you're getting less potential views. Okay. The next thing that I have a problem with social media is platforms don't like users encouraging other users to leave. So this goes back to the algorithm actually. So there are many social media platforms that won't allow you to post a link in the post, and the only link you get is the one in your profile. So if you're encouraging people to leave the platform, you'll be ranked lower in the algorithm and get less views. It actually happened to me. Okay. People like and share, but they don't actually listen. So it's very easy to like and share on social media platforms, but clicking and listening to a podcast episode is very different than liking and sharing. It takes people away from the platform and away from their regular routine of scrolling. So you could get 100 likes and shares on social media, but only a few listens because people aren't actually listening to your podcast. And that's one problem with it. Okay. Can't take your audience with you. That's literally how I have it written. So you can't share your audience on a different platform. So you can't take your Twitter followers and bring them to YouTube. Or not, yeah, YouTube, that's fine. So every time you join a new platform, social media platform, you're starting from scratch pretty much, unless you post on the old platform, hey, I'm on this platform now. But still, because of the algorithms, your entire audience isn't going to follow you to the new platform. Okay, not much control over user experience. So on social media, or there are social media platforms that allow you a limit of how many characters you can use in one post. Along with that, you can't control how a user sees your post. You can't create a post that will have like a fireworks effect. As soon as someone sees it, you can't make the background of your post a different color. You can only just share your text, and that's it. And it looks uniform to the entire platform, which is a disadvantage to someone who knows how to create a user experience, like me. Hey, what do you know? Okay. Finally, the last problem that I have, which is, I think this is the biggest section. No, how to is the biggest section. Whatever, doesn't matter. The final problem that I have is you have difficulty on different social media platforms of organizing your posts. So it's very difficult on many social media platforms to see the different posts that you have done, or like to scroll to the bottom of your very first post. And I have difficulty with this because if you're changing your strategy or like writing different copy, you can't compare how your new copy versus your old copy is doing very easily, especially if you post a lot or like you share other people's content. So compared to podcasting, where I can just very easily scroll, or with a newsletter, there's an archive that shows just my posts or my newsletters, and it's very easy to navigate. Yeah, okay. That's all I have for you. If you got my problems reference, please let me know, because that would make me very happy. So there's the blog. If you want to write a blog post about podcasting, let me know, and you can add it to the Open Podcast blog, and that will help you get more visibility for your blog post. Same thing with the Open Podcast community podcast. If you want to practice podcasting and get an initial audience through the Open Podcast community podcast, let me know. Okay. That's all I have for you. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day. Bye.